Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Jerka, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to use foldables with multilingual learners in your classroom. So today's objectives are to identify the benefits of foldables in the multilingual learner classroom. We're going to explore 4 different foldable organizers, and I'm going to show you how to create them. And then you're going to have an opportunity to reflect and describe how you might use this in your classroom. So first of all, what is a foldable? Foldables are 3D interactive graphic organizers that are created basically by folding and cutting paper. Sometimes there can be gluing involved, but these are just a fun and sort of kinesthetic way to take your modified graphic organizers to the next level and to help increase student engagement. So why use a foldable? Like, sure, you can just use a modified graphic organizer. Why go to the next level? Foldables are, again, really interactive. They help students gain a better understanding of concepts through making connections between new and old learning, identifying important information while reading. Often in my classroom, students use a text to help build their foldable. They also help chunk information into parts. They're great for classifying and categorizing information, and they help students with identifying relationships between concepts as well. I really like this quote: foldables encourage student ownership of study material, provide a kinesthetic component to teaching strategies, and promote long-term retention of academic lessons. And I've also had really good results myself using foldables with students. So I'm going to teach you how to create 4 basic foldables. The first type of foldable that we are going to look at are shutter foldables. These can be created with 2, 4, 6, or 8 doors on them. So let's take a look at how to do that. As we do this, I will be demonstrating in the upper right corner, and there will also be written directions on the screen. So let's go ahead and take a look. So the first thing with the shoulder foldable, you can create, as I mentioned, foldables with 2, 4, 6, or 8 doors. So you're going to start out with a sheet of paper like this, and you're just going to fold it in half. And so now you have a nice crease here in the center. You're going to take this end and fold it into that crease in the center. And then you're going to do the same thing with the other end. And when you're doing these foldables, you really want to make sure that you're creasing very well. Sometimes rolling with a pencil on your creases can really help. So now you have a basic 2-door foldable with room for something on the outside and then information on the inside as well. Um, so that's your basic 2-shutter foldable. Um, Next, you can you can fold it to create as many doors as you would like. So you can fold it in half like this to get 4 doors. You can fold it in thirds like this to get 6 doors, or you can fold it in fourths for 8 doors. So just for this example, I'm going to go ahead and fold it in thirds, and we will end up getting 6 doors. So now I have pretty obvious creases that I can use as lines to cut. So for this shutter foldable, you're going to open it and you're only going to cut along to the first crease. So just like this. And you're going to do that on each side. Oops, I messed up a little bit there. And so now we have a foldable with 6 shutters or doors. And so that's basically how you do the shutter foldable. And again, you can choose how many doors you need. based on what you are teaching. And there are lots of great different uses for this. I'm going to go back so you can see some of the examples where they're comparing using a two-door shutter to compare a plant and animal cell. Down at the bottom, they're looking at the four mathematical operations and the different vocabulary words involved with that. And then in the example over on the right, they're doing different poetic devices. So there's lots of different ways to use these shutter foldables across the different content areas. So the second type of foldable book that we're going to look at is called a layer book or a layer flip book. These books are pretty versatile and you can have really as many layers as you want. All you do is add a new page for each two new layers that you want to have. Here are some examples you can see with the scientific method. This flip book, they write inside what happens during each step of the scientific method. And the other one on the right is a story summary using the somebody wanted but so then strategy. Again, there's of course lots of different things you can do with this in all the different content areas. So let's take a moment and look at how we can create this. All right, so for the layer book, I'm gonna start out, I'm gonna do this with the 4 layers. So I'm gonna have 2 pieces of paper. And you're gonna stack your paper so that each new sheet of paper is about 1 inch lower than the last sheet of paper. Then you're gonna take the bottom and you're gonna fold it up. Again, leaving it so that you're folding it up to about 1 inch below the last piece of paper. And you're just gonna fold, crease really well along that top line. And I like to staple so that it keeps all of my pieces together. But now I have a 4-layer flip book with a cover and then 3 different tabs. If you wanted a 6-layer flip book, then you could add just 1 more piece of paper. And an 8-layer flip book, you would need to start with 4 pieces of paper. Again, this is really easy to make and a great way for your students to collect information on a process, steps, story summaries, anything really that you can think of. This is a great tab book to have for students. So the next kind of foldable that we're going to look at are tab foldables. Again, these are really versatile, have a variety of different uses. You can see here examples. In this one for a study of 5th grade American Revolution, they're studying the causes and effects of the Boston Massacre. At the top, again, we can see an example of comparing plant and animal cells. And then over on the left, you can see an example of a 4-step cycle, the rock cycle, and how you could use this tab foldable for this. Again, like some of the other books, these can be created with 2, 3, or 4 tabs. So let's look at how we can begin creating this. So for our tab foldable, we're going to make what elementary teachers often call a hot dog fold. So we've got our paper lengthwise, and we're just going to fold the top side down to the bottom side in half. All right, so now you've got a hot dog or a taco, however you want to call it. Then we're going to fold the sides again to create the correct number of doors that we want. For this example, I'm just going to create a 3-door organizer. So I'm just going to fold my hot dog into thirds as best I can, trying to make it even. Doesn't have to be perfect. And so now I've got my 3 doors. You can see my creases. I'm going to lift up the top page from the bottom. I don't want to cut the bottom. And I'm going to use my corners to cut in towards my center crease. And now here I have my organizer with 3 doors. So as you saw in the examples, it can be used for comparing and contrasting, 3 different characteristics of something. Really, your imagination is the limit. So the next type of foldable that we're going to talk about, this one is particularly great for sorting and classifying, and this is a pocket foldable. So you can see on the example, there's fiction and nonfiction where the students are sorting titles. You could sort characteristics as well. The other example is students sorting numbers by odd and even. You could sort pictures by vowel sounds or words by vowel sounds. There's lots of different ways to use this. So let's look into how we can make it. All right, so with the pocket foldable, we're going to start again with the paper lengthwise. And we're going to do very similar to what we did last time, but instead of folding it all the way over in half, we're just going to fold it up, about 3 inches. It's up to you how deep you want your pockets to be. So now my paper looks like this. Then again, you're going to fold it to create the number of pockets that you want. So in this case, I'm going to create 4 pockets by folding it into fourths or in half twice. So now I've got my pockets, and then you can either staple at the ends or you can glue at the ends. Um, I recommend, I like stapling, but if you don't want your students using staples or you don't want staples getting caught on tiny fingers, you can always use glue sticks instead. And that is the last of the foldables I wanted to demonstrate for you today. So now let's talk about some tips for using foldables with your multilingual learners. First of all, some tips for creating foldables. When it comes to doing this with your students, model step by step and have students fold and cut along. This is especially important. Otherwise, students will get something looking completely different than what you intend. So go step by step, have students give a thumbs up when they've completed a step, check, and then move on to the next step. For the inevitable mistakes, when it comes time for cutting or whatever, have extra paper on hand. Construction paper is more durable, but printer paper will work just fine too. And then if you have something that requires gluing, like the pockets, use glue sticks instead of liquid glue. Some tips for using foldables. I love to create activities that center around having students use the information in their foldable. So after we create the foldable, I might have students do a writing activity, a speaking activity, or engage in a collaborative conversation, or even use it to participate in a quiz game. Another thing that you can do when using foldables with your students that works great, especially with lower proficiency students or younger students, is to print information, sentences, visuals, even close sentences with fill in the blanks that students can cut and paste into their foldable. Um, so that, if they're lower level, they might not necessarily have to write everything themselves, but still putting it in the correct places shows that they're demonstrating some understanding of what they've learned. With higher proficiency students, have them create and write on their own, um, and use the language that they've learned to create their foldables. Foldables definitely connect to the 6 key strategies that we have been talking about for the last couple of years. Um, when you're creating or planning your foldables, be sure to include visuals. These can be something that students cut and paste into the foldable, or these can be student created drawings. Definitely provide sentence frames for students when creating foldables, whether it's in the form of fill in the blanks for information that's going to go inside. For lower proficiency students, as I mentioned, cutting the information to go inside and pasting it in, and then sentence frames for when students are using their foldables to discuss information or write about information. When using foldables, when creating foldables and putting the information in them, students are already learning by doing. So this is definitely a learning by doing strategy. Um, you can connect to direct vocabulary instruction by using foldables as part of your direct vocabulary instruction. Um, and there are lots of great activities out there that you can do with foldables for vocabulary. And I will see if I can add some of those to the playbook as well. Again, foldables are basically modified graphic organizers that are kind of a little bit next level. And then you can connect to collaborative conversations by structuring and planning conversations that require students to use the information that they put in their foldable. So I have started to create some printable templates for you to help you create your foldables if you want to have printable information on them. You can use the QR code here to access the templates. Feel free to pause the video if you need that. But those are listed on the playbook site. And then I ask before you disengage, take a moment to reflect. Think about how you might use foldables in your classroom. Use the QR code on the screen to access the Jamboard and share your ideas with us. You may think of something that your colleagues haven't thought of, and you may get some great ideas from them as well. So we do encourage you to share. So thank you for joining me to learn about foldables. I hope that you are as excited about using these in your classroom as I am about using them in mine.